You're listening to the Valley Labor Report with David Story and Jacob Morrison.
Welcome back to the Valley Labor Report. My name is Jacob Morrison, here with my co-host David Story. On the line, we've got labor journalist Chris Brooks. So you have a piece titled "Follow the Money: Employers Are Behind the Rush to Reopen" in LaborNotes. Came out last week. It sounds it feels like it came out about a month ago or 2 months ago. But if you could talk a little bit about that piece, because there's some really important reporting that went into that, some really important information that I think our audience it would be beneficial for them to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right about Corona time. Everything, the weeks feel like years at this point. So, a few things to realize is that working class people are really, being squeezed from multiple angles in this current moment. The rush to reopen the economy is being pushed by employers, and the employers want to reopen so that way they can kick people off their unemployment benefits, and so that way they can start making profits again. Because of the state unemployment system being combined with this, with the federal money, is many people are making on average $15 an hour right now unemployed, which is far more than they often make on the job, especially in the South. And so, of course, state legislators and the employers in the South don't want people to get used to making that kind of money or thinking that their labor is that valuable. So they really want to get them off that as quickly as possible. But I think also is they want to return to business as normal. Like, they can work from home, they can stay at home with their cushy lifestyles and have their food delivered, and they don't really care what happens to us. So forcing people back in there and then denying that the virus is real and that the pandemic is a force that's actually creating mass devastation across the country is something that they're coordinating, is this kind of massive disinformation campaign. And so what you're seeing is the usual suspects all coming into play. It's the Tea Party 2.0. You've got Freedom Works and the American Legislative Exchange Council and the State Policy Network, all of these right-wing funded, corporate funded organizations that are helping to facilitate these actions that are happening in state legislatures, and then having those actions, which are very small, right, typically only involving maybe 100 people, receive national attention on Fox News and other right-wing media. And then trying to get their right-wing legislators that they've worked to get elected echoing the concerns of this, so it's a real fringe movement. Like, polling shows that most people even people who are unemployed in this current moment and really struggling economically, are far more concerned about going back to work. They often work in, live in multi-generational households, so they're in contact with family and friends, and they know that the devastation of this disease is really incredible. So this is, really a right-wing ploy to create the image of there being a movement to push people back to work when there really isn't. But that's not to say that people aren't suffering in this current moment. 1/3 of people in the United States currently can't afford their rent. You've probably seen the videos and footage of, people, miles long lined up to get into the food banks to access the food pantries. So the suffering out there is really, really real. And the response from Congress has just been abysmal. It's great that they added this extra federal, allotment to the unemployment insurance, and it's great that everybody got those $1,200 checks. But really what they did is, they ended up giving, about $500 billion to the Treasury, which is then turned around, and the Federal Reserve is using that to pump $4 trillion into Wall Street, basically assuring companies right now that, investors are going to be made whole. You're not going to lose a penny, and don't worry about laying people off. Don't worry about using that money for more stock buybacks and dividends. That's okay, right? So because of this money that they pumped into the Federal Reserve, you probably saw this week, Boeing announced that they're laying off 7,000 people. Yeah. It's just absolutely outrageous. So we continue to bail out this company, Boeing. And in response, what do? They harm the communities that they work in. They harm the workers that they're dependent on. And that's the reality of the situation, is Congress is working on behalf of Wall Street and corporate America, not the rest of us.
Yeah, and one of the things that always gets that always fails to get brought up whenever we talk about this added unemployment insurance that everybody is, a lot of the jealous people are complaining about, is the fact that all these people that got laid off are now having to pay for private insurance out of their pocket because, of course, when you get laid off, well, you don't have health insurance anymore. And who's going to do without health insurance during these times? So that added money I would be surprised if you barely break even with the cost of going on a private plan that you pick off the healthcare market.
And anybody who's ever had to take Cobra knows how
exactly.
absolutely expensive it is. It's outrageous. And this is again like this is a moment where labor really has a chance to lead on these issues by talking about Medicare for all, right? To talk about how we need a single payer healthcare system in this country that provides true universal healthcare to everyone. 27 million people before the pandemic didn't have insurance. That's double during a pandemic right now. It's absolutely outrageous. Over 50 million people in this country don't have health insurance.
Wait a second, Chris. You're telling me that if they like it, they can't keep it? That's not what I was told. I thought Buttigieg and Biden, they were telling us that if we liked our plans, we could keep it.
Yeah. The talking points is the talking points always gets construed whenever you bring work in the situation. It's so long as you're working, so long as you're providing a profit for the government and for your employer, that you can keep it.
Yeah. Twitter's not going to be fact checking that though. Thanks for listening, folks. If you want to keep up with us throughout the week, you can follow us online. We've got a Facebook page, facebook.com/Valley Labor Report. You can search us on YouTube at The Valley Labor Report. We're on Twitter at Labor Reporters. I'm on Twitter at JacobM_AL. David is on Twitter at Radical Unionist, RADICL Unionist. If you appreciate our work and want to ensure that we can stay on the air, consider supporting us with a monthly donation on Patreon at patreon.com/The Valley Labor Report.